Thurman Thomas and the Bills run over the Saints. Coming up, the full story of Sunday's tough loss to Buffalo. We'll talk to the comeback kids, 2 veterans back with the Saints in time for the playoffs. Safety Antonio Gibson and fullback Buford Jordan. And we'll meet the newest member of the Saints Hall of Fame. Don't worry about the loss. Santa's coming, and Saints Sideline is next.
Saints Sideline, brought to you by Midas. Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. Your local Isuzu dealers. Budweiser, nothing beats Saints football and nothing beats a Bud. And by Lennox, it must be a Lennox.
This is an exclusive presentation of WGNO Sports. Ed Daniels, Alexander Laurent, Saints Sideline.
Hello and thank you for joining us on Saints Sideline. I'm Alexander Laurent.
And I'm Ed Daniels.
And the Saints lost a real tough one Sunday to Buffalo, but a win Saturday against the Jets, and they'll still host a first-round playoff game.
And end the regular season at 12-4. The Philadelphia Eagles look like the opponent in the wild card game. The Eagles were beating Washington at home Sunday, while Buffalo was rallying to handle the Saints. The Bills showed why they've been to the last 2 Super Bowls. Buffalo overcame a list of injuries that was long and rallied from 10 points down at halftime to beat the Saints 20-16.
7.5 minutes to play. The Saints leading 16-10. 4th and 1 at the New Orleans 26. Buffalo goes for much more than a yard.
Referees are in difficult positions at difficult times, and I think there's a fine line between a great play and a bad call, and this may have been the case.
Reggie Jones is flagged for pass interference on Andre Reed. Thurman Thomas scores on the next play to send the Bills on their way to victory.
And that is pass interference. We'll go back and study film. I'll look at the news. We'll see the play again. I still won't see the call. And this is what I can't understand. I mean, where are they getting? Are they getting these guys from like a clown farm?
The call was tough to swallow, but the Saints were simply outplayed in the second half. 3 points, 2 first downs, 28 total yards, pressure on Bobby Hebert, and a poor job of tackling on defense.
You got to go out and play 60 minutes, and we didn't. That second half, from an offensive standpoint, was it was awful. Their 2 best defensive players didn't even play, Bennett and Smith. I don't remember when we've tackled as poorly as we did today. And you can't play defense if you can't tackle.
Thurman Thomas had 115 yards rushing, 62 receiving. After the game, the Bills could talk trash. The Saints could only turn the page and move on.
Sports writers in Buffalo are giving credit for the win to the Bills' defense. Here's what they're saying. Larry Felser of the Buffalo News writes, aside from Thurman Thomas, the offense was hitting on no more than a cylinder and a half until late in the game. Between the Saints' excellent defense and the incredible noise in the Superdome, the no-huddle was virtually neutered. So on this most important day, it was up to the defense. Bruce Smith, their super stud, walked the sidelines in civilian clothing. By halftime, his pass-rushing colleague, Cornelius Bennett, had joined him. Another of the team's Pro Bowler, Shane Conlon, missed several series after a blow to the head. Cornerback Kirby Jackson missed most of the second half. Sunday afternoon in the Louisiana Superdome, the Bills' defense underwent the ultimate gut check. They passed it mostly on character.
The Saints' hopes of repeating as NFC West champs ended Saturday in San Francisco as the 49ers beat Tampa Bay to earn their 8th division title in the last 10 years. Joe Montana was dressed out for the first time this season, although he didn't play. The Buccaneers drew first blood on the Dipsy-Doo. Gary Anderson pitches to Vinny Testaverde, and Testaverde unloads deep to Anthony McDowell. The 51-yard scoring play put the Bucs up 7-0. It was tied at 7 at halftime. Third quarter, Niners take the lead. Steve Young deep to Jerry Rice. 32 yards, the 49ers lead 14-7. The Bucks tied it up early in the fourth quarter, but Steve Young hits the game winner here, 30 yards again to Rice. And the 49ers not only win the West, but wrap up the home field advantage throughout the playoffs as they beat Tampa Bay 21-14. Up next, two veterans return to the Saints. We'll talk to safety Antonio Gibson.
And fullback Buford Jordan as they get ready for the playoffs. Stick around for more of Saints Sideline.
Kids, veterans Antonio Gibson and Buford Jordan have rejoined the Saints just in time for the playoffs. Doug Mouton gets us started with a profile of Antonio.
It's said that you don't really appreciate something until it's taken away from you. Antonio Gibson knows what that's all about. Gibson's professional career began as number 23 with the Philadelphia Stars here in red. His coach, Jim Mora, once called him the best-kept secret in the USFL. When the league folded and Mora came south to New Orleans, so did Gibson, and the secret was out. And now number 27, Antonio Gibson was once again Jim Mora's starting strong safety.
It was great, you know. I went to the USFL, had a great time over there, you know, to be able to come to the NFL, you know, and get a starter's role right away, you know, to be with your old coach, you know, to be surrounded by family and friends. I mean, you know, it was the perfect situation for me.
After 3 years as a starter with the Saints, Antonio Gibson lost his starting job to a young safety named Gene Atkins. So at the end of the 1989 season, when the Dallas Cowboys offered Gibson big money in Plan B, he took it, only to be cut by the Cowboys in preseason.
One of my main motivations for leaving was, you know, I felt like I'll be going, you know, to an organization where I'll be able to step right in and, you know, start and help. You know, it didn't really work out that way, but, you know, it's a decision I made, and, hey, you know, I just have to live with it.
And he had to live without football for nearly 3 years. But at 31 years old, 14 Saints are older than him, so he still feels he has a lot more football in him. An injury to Brett Maxey has given Antonio Gibson another chance. And for now, he's enjoying the ride.
For me, every day, man, it's just fun. You know, being out of the game for that long and being able to come back and put that uniform on, being around locker room, you know, just messing around with the guys. I mean, you know, that made my year right there. I mean, when I come in every day, I mean, I'm happy. You know, I'm just, you know, it's nothing like it really, you know. And I think a lot of times as a player, you might tend to take certain things for granted, take certain feelings for granted, you know. But once you've been away from that environment to come back, you know, to me, it's really a lot more enjoyable now than it was, you know, before.
Doug Mouton, Saints Sideline.
While Antonio Gibson's 2.5 years away from football make him a real surprise on the Saints roster, a lot of people expected Buford Jordan to be there from the start. But after a productive 1991 season, Buford was once again cut before the season began. But as usual, number 23 is back in time for the playoffs. For Buford Jordan, it's an old familiar song. The lyrics were the same, and so was the music.
The reasons I'm back is because of, you know, one of these good guys being hurt, you know, Fred McAfee. But yet now when I look at it, I'm excited, you know, because I look back at how hard I worked during the off season and, you know, the time I put into it, you know, and I finally get a chance to put some of that to work.
What does it feel like for you to be so close, but yet so far away from the game?
This probably was the first year that I've just really sat down and watched football, you know, and it was tough. It really is. It just shows you that whenever it's time for you to give it up, how much I'll miss it. I have a chance here, you know, to come to a playoff, you know, team that's going to the playoffs and has a chance to go even further. So, you know, that's something I think everybody that can get this opportunity wish they had, you know, is to be with a winning football team and a team that has strong possibilities of going all the way.
And his chance came on Sunday, and it looked like Buford Jordan would make the play of the day.
Fumble. Saints have it.
Buffalo 13-yard line. Buford Jordan.
But it was all forgotten in the fourth quarter.
It's just amazing, you know, how the day can go from good to bad in a matter of minutes. My thing about being back here is I want to contribute. I don't want to come up here and do nothing to hurt the team, you know, to cause them to lose. So that's what next week I'll be working real hard to make sure that I'll make all preparations that it won't happen again.
Up next, there's a new member of the Saints Hall of Fame. We'll reminisce with old number 58 when Saints Sideline continues.
This year, 3 men were added to the Saints Hall of Fame. Running back George Rogers, offensive lineman Jake Cupp and John Hill. In 1993, 1 player and a key contributor will be added to the Kenner Museum.
It's our pleasure to introduce our 1993 Saints Hall of Fame inductee, Joe Federspiel.
Joe Federspiel officiates Southeastern Conference football. For years, he blew the whistle on opposing ball carriers. 5 times, Joe Fed led the Saints in tackles. Number 58 missed only 2 games in 9 years, playing in 130 straight, second only to current Saint Eric Martin.
He came to New Orleans and had an opportunity to work in television at WDSU TV for 16 years, I believe we're talking about.
35-year broadcasting veteran Wayne Mack was pleasantly shocked at being named Fleur-de-Lis Award winner. At WDSU TV, Mack covered the Saints' first training camp at Cal Western in San Diego. He authored the 25 years of team history in his book, Saga of the Saints.
As a member of the media, impartiality is the rule of thumb, and I've been paid for what I've done, and people that have earned this before me have done a lot more and done it out of the goodness of their heart. I did it so I could pay the visa off every month.
Wayne Mack still serves as Saints field announcer. He remembers 1972 when the Saints traded with Dallas for Tom Stinsick, only to see a rookie linebacker win the job in the middle.
Well, Tom Stinsick came to the Saints, and he was like a ballet dancer. On a bull rush up the middle, he sort of retreated. Little terpsichorean effort. He wasn't in there to crunch people. And they finally put Joe Fed in. First game against Atlanta, Joe Fed 15 tackles.
And you could talk with him and know he knew how you were going to, what you meant. It wasn't one of these things where you had to double check everything. Wayne was one of us, and he was a type of guy that you just felt comfortable with.
Just how good are the 1992 Saints? Certainly good enough to make it to the playoffs, but after Sunday's loss to Buffalo, the question remains, and Alex asked me to ask it, are the Saints a Super Bowl contender?
Play to win. It's an attitude the Bills showed off in the Superdome. On 4th and 1, the Bills were throwing. Not surprising, cornerback Reggie Jones.
They're a good offensive team. They're a good team and have a good staff. They play to win. If you want to win, you need to do things like that at those times. And I thought it was a good call, good play. It was an excellent play, actually.
Us as a team, we can get down 10 points at a halftime or whatever, and we've always been known to be able to come back.
It's an attitude you develop by just doing it. Even though Buffalo hasn't caught on twice in the Super Bowl, the Bills are experts at getting there. Can the Saints get there?
They got a great record this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were in the Super Bowl.
And Alex, the Saints are beginning to get some national notoriety. This week's Pro Football Weekly features the Saints on the cover with the caption, "Is this the year for the Saints to win their first playoff game?"
Well, you know, it'll be interesting to see how much respect the Saints get from their peers. The Pro Bowl invitations come out, and it'd be great to see guys, deserving guys like Wayne Martin and Jim Dombrowski, see if they make the team.
But sometimes it is a popularity vote.
Exactly. Up next, more from Sunday's tough loss to Thurman Thomas and the Bills.
And we'll go back 19 years to a better day against Buffalo. Stay with us for more of Saints Sideline. Former Saint coach Bum Phillips once said of Earl Campbell, if he isn't in a class by himself, you can call the roll on one hand. The same can be said for Buffalo's Thurman Thomas. He was the difference Sunday in the Bills' win, as he continues to be the most productive running back in the NFL.
14-3, Buffalo went to its money man early in the third quarter. Thurman Thomas on the draw for 41 yards and a momentum swing. 7 plays later, Thomas scored, and the Bills were back in the game.
His play, I told him in the locker room, when we had 3rd and 10 in the first drive of the second half and he got the long run, was really, if I had to select one play, and there isn't one, what was really the one that I thought helped really begin to swing the momentum back our way.
For the season, Thurman Thomas has 1,390 rushing, 618 receiving yards. It's the second straight season Thomas goes over 2,000 all-purpose yards.
Thurman Thomas is the second leading rusher in Bills history. The Saints had a lot more success against the guy who's number 1 on the list, as we see in this week's great game in Saints history.
1973 was the year of the juice. Orenthal James Simpson set an all-time single-season rushing mark that year with 2,003 yards. But against the Saints, O.J. found very little running room. Simpson carried the ball 20 times for just 79 yards. The only other team to hold him under 100 yards in 1973 was the world champion Miami Dolphins. The Saints got just enough offense. This Archie Manning to Bob Newland strike set up one of 2 Saint field goals, and New Orleans led 6-0. The Bills had a chance to win it in the 4th quarter, but this 4th down run by Simpson was stopped by number 57, Jim Merlo and company. Another Manning to Newland connection put the game on ice, preserving the first shutout in team history, as the Saints blanked the Bills 13-0. Still ahead on Saints Sideline, we'll update the Saints' position in the playoff picture and look ahead to Saturday's afternoon matchup in the Meadowlands.
Manufacturing, America's best men's clothing value.
With 1 week left, 5 teams are in the playoffs. 1 spot is still up for grabs. As we mentioned earlier, the 49ers have the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. They'll finish up the regular season Monday against Detroit. Minnesota has won the Central. The Vikings wrapped it up Sunday with a victory over Pittsburgh. And Dallas can wrap up the East with a win over Atlanta tonight. The Saints need to beat the Jets or have the Giants beat the Eagles, and they'll host a first-round playoff game. The Saints will probably play Philadelphia in 2 weeks. The only other possibility would be if the Eagles lost to the Giants and Green Bay beat Minnesota Sunday, the Packers would come to the Dome. For now, the Redskins are the 3rd wild card, but the Packers are very much alive. Both teams are 9-6.
The regular season is almost over. It flew by. 1 more game to go, and it's a big one. The Saints travel to the Meadowlands to take on the New York Jets. The last meeting came in the Superdome back in October of 1989. Jets led 7-6 here in the 2nd quarter when Bobby Hebert goes to MOE, the master of everything. Mo Hill for the touchdown. Saints led 13-7 at the half. 3rd quarter, Hebert again, this time to his favorite target in the whole wide world, Eric Martin for the score. Hebert threw for 281 yards on the day. This one put it on ice in the 4th quarter. Martin takes the short toss, goes 53 yards for the touchdown. The Saints dominated the Jets, the final 29-14. Alex, the Jets have been a huge disappointment this season. They lost Jeff Lageman with an injury early, and of course the tragedy that hit Dennis Byrd and the Jets. Jets do have a win over the Buffalo Bills at Buffalo, although they come into the game at 4-11 and really hurting offensively.
You know, and it's really hard to believe. Here's a team that last year went to the playoffs. They sure haven't played like a playoff team in '92. Kickoff time for the Meadowlands is at 11:30 Saturday morning.
And of course, Saints Sideline will continue through the Saints' run in the playoffs. Until next week, I'm Ed Danny.
I'm Alexander Laurent. We'll see you next week on Saints Sideline.
If I get any reward for this game, I'd like a cassette tape of the music they played out there. we're at the line of scrimmage.
We got beat. We don't feel like that, you know, the Bills are better than us. The same case goes back to the 49ers. We don't feel like they're better than us. Just on a good day in the NFL, any team can come in here and beat us.
Hey, we knew that he was a great back, and he did a great job today. I mean, there's certainly nothing. I mean, we expected him to be that kind of back.
You cannot tell me that we're not in the top 2, top 3 teams in the league. And we were in this game, we let it get away. We were in the games against the Niners, we let it get away. We just need to take that one step, and I think we were capable of doing it. So if there was any time for a loss, you know, a good time for loss, maybe this might be it psychologically.